So the certification exam covers the same purpose that it did previously, which are these first four bullets. So it would enable, if you've passed the exam, it would enable you to be able to assess the security posture of an enterprise environment and recommend and implement appropriate security solutions. And so we talk about assessing the security posture. The security posture is basically how resilient a network is going to be to the next attack. And so you want a very strong, security posture. And sometimes when you look at regulations, they'll want you to come up with a score, maybe between, 1 and 5. And so you'd be shooting for, in the case if 5 were the most secure, then that's what you would want. You'd want your security posture to be a 5. But basically, it's a way to, provide or rank your company's ability to protect itself and to be able to have it be trustworthy, and then have people, be able to do business with you, knowing that that their information is going to be safe. And so this enables you to be able to determine, oh, is this a safe, is the security posture of this, network, is it high or is it low? Well, you can determine that by finding how many vulnerabilities you find. For example, like if you run a vulnerability scan and you find, a large number of vulnerabilities, that may indicate that your security posture is not very strong, and so you would need to put some work into it and to, fix those vulnerabilities so that they're no longer a risk for your company. That's one example. Another is monitoring and securing hybrid environments. This includes cloud, mobile, Internet of Things, and operational technology. And so we're looking at, when we say monitoring, we're talking about, continuous security monitoring using SIMs, which I mentioned earlier. Um, and being able to monitor not only on-premises environments, which are, traditional environments that we typically had, where a company has a server room and, all of the tools there, and their IT team works in that server room, as well as monitoring cloud environments where you're essentially, renting someone's data, data servers and such, like when you go to the cloud with Azure, with AWS, where you're essentially just renting someone else's network to run your applications. So we're teaching basically how to monitor and secure in all environments, because we find that about 70% of IT workers are now working in hybrid environments. That's huge. Um, and then also we want to ensure that, another goal is that you can operate with an awareness of applicable regulations and policies. That includes principles of governance, risk, and compliance. And GRC is the term for governance, risk, and compliance. And that's really whenever we're looking at, uh, if our company is going to be responsible for implementing one of these. And typically it will come from your company's leadership. They might say, okay, well, you have to adapt to, PCI DSS, which is a standard that is called, payment card information, or payment card industry data security standard. And that ensures that you encrypt all of your credit card numbers that your company is in possession of, because they used to not have to do that. And so if a hacker, a bad actor, were able to come in and grab the credit card numbers, they used to not be encrypted. And so they would have the credit card numbers available to use. But, PCI DSS ensures that all companies encrypt the credit card numbers. So if they are exfiltrated by a bad actor, it's going to be more difficult for them to decrypt that credit card number and then use it. And so that's a good example there. And lastly, identifying, analyzing, and responding to security events and incidents. So this is when you're doing continuous security monitoring, for example, and you find a security incident, a potential breach. You need to be able to respond to that. So, what are some of the techniques for incident response? How can we respond to this threat or vulnerability or attack and mitigate it? And mitigate is to reduce the risk of, that threat. And so there are many steps that can be done. There are things called playbooks, and playbooks enable you to basically say, oh, okay, well, I see, what this problem is here. It looks like, we have an attack on one of our servers. And so what you could do is you could actually put that server in its own network segment. And that way the contagion might be, it will just stay within that network segment and not spread out to the other systems on your network. And so, network segmentation is a popular tool for at least, for mitigating the risk, because you just got that server in its own network segment, and it can reduce contagion. So, and I also mentioned the 20% of exam objectives. They were updated to include current trends in the industry, which, some of those are, there's more threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities than ever before. So you need to know what those are. Automation, zero trust, risk, and then Internet of Things and operational technology, cloud environments, all of that's emphasized, as well as communication, reporting, and teamwork. And then, the other thing is very important too is the hybrid environments. So you need to be able to work on premises and in cloud, because we're finding companies are staying with both, because a lot of them need they want the extra security of on premises, although that of course can be argued. But we find that a lot of companies want to even save costs in some cases by keeping some of their information on premises. While we were doing research for this, we learned that a lot of companies that during COVID, during the pandemic, they were moving a lot of their assets to the cloud, and now they're quietly taking their assets out of the cloud and putting them back on premises in order to save money, because they overbuilt during the pandemic. And then when the pandemic and things perhaps changed, people returned back to work, they found that the payments were too high from renting, the cloud equipment. And so they're actually finding it cheaper, only in some cases with some companies. They're finding it cheaper to just have their own systems, and then their own staff to actually protect those resources. So we see the quiet, migration of some assets back to on-prem, which is fascinating, because I wouldn't have expected that.